Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Truth Podcast. My guest today is Charmaine Barber, and I welcome you to the show.
Hello, and thank you very much, Jim, for inviting me to speak on your show. It's really nice to be here today.
Oh, appreciate you being here. And I was going to ask first question, and usually my first question is different, but my first question to you is, what do you do?
What do I do? Okay, well, I've got two lives. I am a bricks and mortar person, as in I have a business that's bricks and mortar that I've had for 20 years with my partner. And along the side of it, which I've been doing for the last year, is I'm a transformational coach. Now, the transformational coach part is something that I do. I work with professional women who are basically survivors of childhood emotional traumas, as myself is. Are you all right?
Yeah, I was coughing.
Goodness me. Bones in the tea.
Yeah, I have my tea here, and I was drinking my tea, and all of a sudden I got this little scratch in my throat.
Bless you.
Sorry about that.
No, not at all, not at all. So I've been helping professional ladies who've had problems in their lives, basically, where they've been procrastinating or they've had overwhelm or anxiety or stress, anything like that. And they haven't really known how they can move forward. So I've been helping them to, I see myself as truth, light and clarity. I have a torch in my toolkit, which I shine on their problems, and by shining my torch on their problems, I get them to see the direction that they need to go in. And once they've seen that direction that they need to go in, things become much clearer for them, and they're able to start solving their problems, start getting out of procrastination, start getting out of overwhelm, having a less stressful life. They start setting boundaries for themselves as well. That's an important one. They become more grateful for things in their lives. They become more forgiving as well. All these are important things for them, because without them doing these things, they seem to be stuck in one place. But as soon as they have a shift and they see a shift with me, that's when the magic starts to happen. And it's absolutely wonderful to see how they bloom like little flowers. It's really, really lovely to see.
I can see you have a big heart for them,
Yes.
and what you do. I want to talk a little bit about your internal or external struggles when it pertains to entrepreneurship, because I think we all have some kind of an inner struggle that we have to go through and overcome to get to another level, then another level, then another level. So I just wanted to ask you that question. What do you think, what are your internal or external struggles, and how did you overcome them?
That's a really good question. For me to answer that, I have to go back to my bricks and mortar business that we've had for 20 years, which is selling Polish pottery, because we represent a company in Poland. We've represented them for the last 15 years. We've had a lot of struggles on the outside for us, but also for me personally, I've had struggles on the inside. An entrepreneur's journey is not an easy journey, should you choose to be one. Because these days, a lot of people think, oh, it's easy to be an entrepreneur, I'll be one. But what they don't realise and what they don't see is all the work that goes on in the background, not just the work, but as you say, the struggles, the internal struggles, such as, am I good enough to do this? Will I be able to find more customers? Am I going to manage to keep our heads above water? Because most businesses fail within the first 5 years. And it's very, very true, because we started, I think it was probably like the 6th year, 2008, something like that, when the economic crisis came about, and we had to survive. And if we hadn't survived that, we wouldn't have the business today where we are, which is now online, which we didn't have for a long time. We resisted it for very many years. And just by having these struggles actually made us stronger. because we had to go out. We realised, for example, we had a shop, and I realised that there was no footfall for the shop. We were going out, we were doing shows to bring the money in, but with the shop there was no footfall, and we had to get rid of it because the rent was so high. So I said to my partner, look, we're going to have to get rid of the shop. I don't want to. It was a lovely area in the city. It was a corner shop, so it had beautiful windows all round, big windows where you could display pottery, and it was absolutely beautiful when we did do that. But what was the point of having a window display with no one to see it? And that's actually that's a parallel with people's journey as well. You can do your marketing, you can do your wonderful website and everything, but if you've got nobody coming past and looking in that window and buying, you haven't got a proper business.
You got a hobby.
Yeah.
Not a business.
Yeah.
So going deeper into the struggles, what specifically did you go through that you felt held you back from maybe achieving what you wanted to, or what you thought you could have?
Well, for me, I had a lot of emotional baggage up until quite recently, probably about a year or so ago. And I was carrying that emotional baggage with me from childhood. See, it depends when you have a business, it also depends on where you come from. And I came from a dysfunctional family. My mother was an alcoholic, and with her being an alcoholic, that affected me greatly. It does affect your mindset completely. I think it affects most people, and you either get up and get on and overcome it, or you succumb to it. And for me, I was actually wearing a coat of victimhood for many, many, many years. And I was piling on, I'm going to call it the onion layers, quite literally. I was piling them on rather than getting rid of them. So my coat of victimhood was getting heavier and heavier. And I was still having to run a business as well, but I couldn't see the woods for the trees, me personally and emotionally. So it was a very difficult time. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, because you do. When you know you've got a business and you know you've got to be bringing the money in, but you've still got emotional baggage that's been unattended, you still keep pushing until you get to a point where you either get a breakthrough or you have a breakdown. And for me, I had a breakdown. I ended up with adrenal fatigue a few years back, because I'd pushed myself so hard, far, far too hard than I should have. And it's because I was stubborn. Stubbornness is good when you have your own business as an entrepreneur, but it's not good if you don't realize that you need to not be so stubborn at times, because you've got these problems that you have to overcome, you have to sort out. So it's a fine balance, really. You really need to know when to stop and when to think, right, enough's enough, I need to sort out my emotional baggage. Because without sorting that out, you can't run your business properly, I think.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And so in those struggles, when you feel like, you're into depression, you have had some trauma in your life, did you get help for that, or how did you go about overcoming?
Well, I didn't ask for help. Now, we're going back before we actually started the business, before I knew my partner. I never actually asked for help. And when I was 19, I did actually try to commit suicide, and that was my cry for help. I needed that help desperately, because I didn't have my mother, because she was an alcoholic, and my father died when I was 10 and a half from cancer of the throat. So in some ways I was kind of like an orphan in the world.
You felt all
And
alone.
yes, very much alone, and just swimming in a sea, not knowing where to go, what to do, who to ask, if I was even able to ask anybody for help.
Hmm.
So when I did try to commit suicide, I took tablets. I knew I didn't want to die, because actually when I did it, I was staying in a bedsit in a house, and there was this other girl there who was from Africa, and I told her what I'd done, and of course she called the ambulance, and they took me to hospital and pumped my stomach, and yeah, after that I went into therapy. They put me in they kept me in the hospital for about 2 weeks, but I have a very sunny disposition when I want to. And when I have a sunny disposition, I can fool everybody. Meaning that whatever turmoil's going on inside here doesn't show here.
You could put on the smile.
That's right. And that's actually what happened. They'd given me some low antidepressants. It's low, the low, what do you call it? A small amount, low dosage. That's right. They gave me a low dosage, which seemed to be enough to bring me up as well. So that made my sunny disposition even sunnier. So they said, oh, well, you can go then, basically.
Yeah.
But in here wasn't ready to go. They did know that, and they actually asked me to go to therapy for a year. So I did go to therapy well, it wasn't a year actually. I think it was only a few weeks from what I recall. They asked me, the doctor asked me, the psychologist asked me, do you want to go in a group or would you like one-to-one? And I'm a very giving person, in as much as I don't tend to care always for myself, or I didn't in those days. So the words that came out of my mouth next were, no, it's fine, I'll go as part of a group. When inside my head and my heart, what I really wanted was one-to-one. But I was fear-driven, as most of us are. I was fear-driven, and I couldn't say it to him.
Do you think it was because you felt like you were going to put somebody else out? Is that, I think if you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it was.
Like you didn't want someone else to deal with your problems, maybe. I
think it was what it was. There was this conversation going on in my head, which was, for example, don't be selfish. Don't be selfish, because there are other people out there who need this. Don't be selfish. Go as part of a group. Don't take up the nice doctor's time. You don't need to. You just need to go part of the group. That was part of it. And I think possibly the other part of it was because of this fear inside me was, I'm going to be discovered. Everything in my head's going to be seen. It's crazy what we think, really.
It really
it's like
is.
Everything in my head, this psychologist is going to know about me, and I don't want him to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was part of it.
Now, see, in all of that, what you find is your light, and like you said, your torch that you can now use to help people, coming from what you've been through, to help others through what they're going through.
Definitely. Yes.
So I think not only do you have a business, but you have a calling in a way.
Yeah, I think it is a calling. It's a calling. It's a passion of mine as well.
You can see that.
It's definitely a passion of mine. If I see somebody in emotional pain, I want to help them. But I have to be very careful with that, because I also think that people like myself who've come from a traumatized childhood tend to want to help others as well. So I'm very aware of that. And I'm often asking myself the question, why do I want to help that person? Do I genuinely want to help that person to get out of their emotional pain? Or do I want to help them because I've been so affected by my childhood? So I'm very, very aware of that. My answer every single time, though, is I want to help that person.
I think that both things happen to where it's not only a helping for others, but a healing for yourself at the same time. And
Absolutely.
I don't think that's a selfish thing. I just think it's a byproduct of the help. And right now, you're mentoring other women who have been through situations and things that you can relate with. And I think that I think they'll open up to you because of who you are.
Yes, they
So
do.
my you still have the brick and mortar business, correct?
We do, yeah. No, we've still got it.
You still got it. Okay. Just getting a picture of where you're at is all for everyone.
Sure.
When you do your coaching, do you set goals for the people at a certain time rate, or do you let them organically? I don't want to maybe use the word heal on their own.
I think it's definitely organic for me. Mm-hmm. It's an integrated organic learning.
Yeah.
They have so many insights and aha moments as I lead them in various directions. But as soon as I see something, it sounds awful, but I see or hear something from them, and I suddenly think, juicy moment. That's what my head does. It says juicy moment. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's a juicy moment, this is silly really, but it's just the way my head thinks, or my brain thinks. The reason it's a juicy moment is because I know that if we dig a little bit deeper, that's where the gold is. And that's where they're going to find it. So I help them to dig and get that gold.
And find the healing in that and the benefit from that.
Yeah.
Because you have to get to the root of the problem. And so what you're talking about is trying to get past all the surface symptoms and getting down to the root cause and pulling that root up, which is painful sometimes. And going through all of those stages to get to healing.
Exactly. I've had a lady recently that I've been working with, no names obviously because of confidentiality, but when we first started, her emotions were very bottled up, quite literally. And I use a lot of metaphors in my work because metaphors are very, very important. You can understand where people are coming from when you use metaphors and when they use metaphors. And in this instance, I could see all her emotions were being held down, that she was quite literally keeping a lid on her emotions. She didn't want to let them out. She was scared to. And she had a blockage here in her throat and her chest area. And it's quite literally because she's not letting those emotions out. So every single week, because I'd noticed that's what was happening with her, every single week, I would try and lead the conversation in such a way that it would bring those emotions to the surface. And week after week, very, very slowly, we got those emotions to come to the surface. And it really bubbled out last week, in fact, for her. And that's when she totally broke down in tears and howled. And it's exactly what she needed to do. She needed to get in touch with her emotions, let those emotions out. Sorry, it wasn't last week, it was the week before. That's right. Last week, I could see how the release of those emotions for her had completely changed her whole character. She was a different person. She was much more in touch with herself, and she realized much more about everything that was happening inside her, that she didn't have to have, she didn't need to hold those emotions in, that she should have let them out long ago. And she was just so much happier for having got to that point. And I was so happy for her as well, because I knew that once she reached that tipping point and allowed her emotions to come through, that she was well on the road to healing.
That's really good. It's very powerful too, because and I don't know if you work with entrepreneurs, whatever it is, but the human condition in general, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety these days. There's a lot of people that have been through a lot of trauma and things, and they need someone to maybe pull that out of them a little bit. And I think that's where you come in. I think that you have the ability to, like you said, shine a light or a torch or something on that problem, and then work with them, and they decide, they just start talking to you. It just kind of happens that way. And I think that you're really skilled at listening from what I see here.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you feel like when you're going through this, do you feel like this brings up stuff inside of you as well as you're going through with someone else?
No.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
No, not anymore. It might have a year ago, but since I've been meditating virtually every day, no.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because then you can actually teach people how to break free.
Yeah.
Because you've done it. Because you've broken free. That's really good. So you have coaching right now. Do you have any desire to do like a course or anything like that? Is there anything else that's going to be coming out, or are you going to expand to other groups, or is there a plan to do more, or are you satisfied with where you're doing right now?
Well, because we've got the bricks and mortar business, obviously that's a full-time enterprise. So the coaching that I'm doing at the present time is quite literally only part-time, and I do as much as I can. I'm meant to have 2 days off a week, but because of the Christmas rush and everything, I've been pulled away from my coaching back into the full-time business. Mm-hmm. Once everything settles down, I'm going to be having 2 days off again, so I can devote more time to the coaching. And I've got my Facebook group, Living Life Freely, for people who want to join and be part of that group.
What was that again? Living Life
Freely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We're going to put that in the description. It should be in the description below as you're watching this. Live Life Freely, and that is going to be available to you to join, and so that you can benefit from Charmaine's I call calling. I guess that's what I'm going to call it. I'm branding it now.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead. You do the branding.
Okay.
I'll do the talking. You do the branding.
That sounds good. I can come up with names and stuff. I'm pretty good at that stuff. So is the brick and mortar business the passion, or is that the work?
It's a good question. It used to be a passion, but it's been very work intensive over the years, and it is a work intensive product. So it's not the passion anymore, it's more the work. Mm-hmm. It brings the main money in. So
I get the sense that you would rather do the coaching and the helping others and stuff, and try to transition out of the brick and mortar business.
That's my aim. That's exactly my aim. I'm also you were talking about was I bringing out a course or anything like that? I am actually working on a course. I've been working on it. I started working on it in January.
Wow.
And then I sort of hit an impasse because of time more than anything, and so it's on hold at the moment, but I've got lots of ideas, and I'm part of a course creating group as well, so I just need to get in there and do the work and finish that course, and then start offering it to people, because I know that this course will
What
help
group
people
is
to break
that?
through
What's the
more.
course creating group that you're in? That might help some people in my group. That's all. The listeners out there.
Oh, what the name of it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think it's called the OCS group. I think it's called
OCS.
OCS
Okay.
group. Yeah.
Okay.
It's run by a guy called David Vidales.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I was just thinking maybe we could put that link in there too, so that people could join and stuff like that, because I think that a lot of people want to come out with their own thing. They want to come out with their own course and their own ideas and present that to the world. And I think that's a good thing. I think that we should have more ideas out there, and people with these new ideas, it can get them out there to people to help them.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, with the online side of things, people need to work out what their niche is more than anything, because without knowing what their niche is, if they're producing a course, then the course that they're producing has to be based on the problem that they're solving for people. So they have to know their niche first before they actually produce that course. Because if you just produce a course out of thin air, so to speak, from the ideas that you've got in your head about whatever it is, and then you go and try and sell it, nobody's going to want to buy it, because you haven't got that niche sorted out in your head. You see what I'm saying?
You haven't got the people that is your tribe.
Exactly. Yeah.
That you haven't got the people that are interested in what you are talking about.
Yeah.
And so if you go and, like said, I do interviews with entrepreneurs. I'm also a coach. I do a little coaching with newer entrepreneurs, stuff like that. But for me to come out with a off the wall, I kept trying to think of something that would be so far out there, like a workout video or something, and be totally against everything that I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand where you need to know your people. You need to know the people that are listening to you, the people that you're talking to. I call it your avatar. I don't know what other people call it, but it's the person that you're speaking to and the characteristics of that person and the people that are in your group, so to speak.
That's right. And your ideal client is actually your avatar. It's you. It's you. It's basically a reflection of you. Not every single thing about you, but a lot of things about you. So, for example, I don't know, you like football. I'm talking about you because you're a bloke. Okay, so you say you like football. You like
I do
beer.
I don't.
You like motorbikes or something like. Do you see what I'm saying? You're going to attract similar people to you.
Right.
Like maybe all three things, or maybe two of those things, or maybe just one thing.
Like cavemen and barbarians. No, I'm just kidding.
There you are.
Sorry, I had to do it.
I'll let you off.
It was getting really deep, which is good. I mean, I think that people need to understand and have to, and I think this is beneficial because I think that people see entrepreneurs as somebody that are, just, oh my God, that's what I want to be. Oh my God, they've got it so together. Oh, I wish I was that. And a lot of times it's not that way.
It's definitely not. It's like that picture of the duck paddling like fury underneath the water whilst actually looking as if it's sailing along really quite elegantly.
Yes, exactly. Yet it's chaos underneath the water.
Yeah. It can be a lot like that. It can be. There are days when I think, to be fair, I think that once you've got over that 5-year mark that we were talking about earlier, and you've survived in inverted commas, that it does get easier. The reason it gets easier is because you've got more failures, and the more you fail, the better. You've got more failures behind you, which then turn into successes. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. You have more experience.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, but failures as well. Failures have got to be there.
But that's part of it. That's part of your experience. And I guess, I guess how I think about experience may be different than some people. I think a lot of your negative experiences form who you are. To a greater extent, it also forms what your business is going to be like. And so the more failures and the more solutions to those problems that you failed with, that will be, your business will be so much better for it, and so will you personally.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just go back to what I was talking about before about our business, when I said to you that we needed to actually come out of that shop. Remember that wonderful glass-fronted shop?
Yes.
We needed to come out of it. This is when the economic crisis was happening, 2008 approximately, in Europe. And it wasn't just that we had to do. We actually we had very few shows to go to, and the shows that we were going to, we weren't earning very much money because people were just holding on to their money. They were scared at the time. So what we ended up doing was, I said to my partner, well, look, we've got a van. We've got a big empty van there. Well, it can be empty when it's not got the pottery in. We've got a van there. We can use it. What can we do with it? So what we ended up doing, because we needed to bring money in, the most important thing is to have money to live, of course, to pay the bills and to feed yourself. And if you have to diversify, you've got to be flexible in business. There's no doubt about it. If you're not flexible, you're dead in the water. We were lucky. We were flexible enough. Because we were flexible enough to do something else, we've survived. We ended up doing very small flat moves with the van for people.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up, we both did for 2 years. We ended up courier driving, but I actually ended up, he didn't like it, so he kind of chickened out of it and pulled himself back out of it because it was horrid. It was horrid. It's not a nice job, courier driving.
It's not.
So I ended up doing courier driving for 6 years.
Wow.
So I was going to the airport. I was picking up loads in the back of the van, pallets in the back of the van. I was picking up textile rolls. I mean, me, a woman, textile rolls I was having to actually carry on my shoulder at the end where I got to take them to the other business. And I was actually having to lift up these textile rolls and shove them onto this conveyor belt. I mean, it was just nightmarish. It really did. But saying that, I kind of could step back from myself and laugh about it as well, because it was funny, but it was sad as well at times. I tell you, the saddest parts were because we didn't have a navigation system for a very long time, and then we finally got one. When we didn't have the navigation system, you had to be really spot on with map reading, and so there were times when I might have got a little bit lost. Not much, because I've actually become very good at map reading. But of course, the guy who was I don't know how you say it in English, but the guy at the end of the phone who gave me the contracts, he'd ring up and he'd go, "Charmaine, are you there yet? Are you there yet?" Not realizing that I'm stuck in traffic or whatever, because he can't see where I am and what I'm doing.
Right.
And you go, "Are you there yet? Are you there yet?" Because the person who's given him the contract is phoning him and saying, "Where's my goods? Where's this? Where's that? Whatever it is that I'm delivering."
Right.
So there was this constant pressure to get the job done as well, and then get back and get onto the next contractual job that was on offer. And this is how the days carried on. But anyway, once I got the navigation system, I was like, I was in heaven. Thank you so much. I love you, Tom.
Oh, see, now that's just doing everything you can to survive.
Yeah.
And you're in that survival mode. You're just saying, okay, I'll do whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to make a living, so let's do it.
That's it.
But you're at this point now in your life, and your career is taking, I would say, a different turn. Do you have, even now, even though you've had a business for all these years, a fear of this new business and how it's going to go?
Absolutely. I'm scared witless.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how it's going to go, firstly. I have no idea which direction it's going to go in. I mean, I could set myself a goal and say I want to do X, Y, Z, but it might turn out that doesn't happen at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because life happens to you.
It does. Mm-hmm. That
you can,
in your business, you may just think that something's going to happen, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
You put out something, you put out a course or something like that, and then just nobody buys it. You're like, uh-oh.
Oh, yes. I'm not going to try and worry about that one. Well, not try. I'm not going to worry about that one. But that
I'm sorry. I should not have brought that up. I really shouldn't have said that, all right?
No, don't worry about it.
But you get those things, and for people out there that are listening or they're watching this, yeah, we all go through this. We all are scared. We're all, yeah, if I don't do this, then I don't make any money and I don't live, or I got to go back to my job, or I got to do whatever it takes, like, take deliveries to places and stuff. We got to do what we have to do to survive. But our dream is to do what we love. And that's why we try so hard to break through and not give in to fear.
Definitely. I think the key as well to it is to not be complacent as an entrepreneur, because complacency will lose you everything. Complacency, not just complacency, also being aware that, for example, I'm going back to the shop example again, that will actually, we're paying too much rent, there's not enough money coming in. And being aware that, yes, it's your baby, the business, but you're going to have to let something go. And it's best to not hold on to it, because a lot of people will hold on and hold on and hold on until it gets to a crisis point, and then it's too late.
It's because it's their passion and their dream.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost a part of them, and giving up on something that's a part of you is very difficult to do, because you believe in it so much, and you're taught to believe in yourself. You're taught to believe in what you're doing, and you're taught that, you can make it, and there's a lot of positive things out there, and positivity quotes and all that tell you, oh yeah, you can do this and you can do that, and whatever, and you believe that. And if something happens to where it's not working right away, or it's not exactly a fit, let's put it that way, that can be devastating to people.
Yes, yeah. You've got to be grounded in reality and not have your head in the clouds, because at the end of the day, you are running a business. And if you don't make the right moves and make the right decisions, then you won't have that business anymore. And then that's your dream out of the window.
Right.
You can start again, depending on what position you're in. And I mean, with some people, it might be that they've invested so many thousands of pounds, euros, dollars, whatever, and they've lost X amount as well. And it might be that they don't have that amount of money to invest in a business anymore. If that happens to them, they're going to have to look in a different direction and look to their inner resources and their knowledge and their talents and their skills, and see, what is it I know? What is it I can use to make a new business? And not give up, not just give up and say, oh, well, that didn't work, did it? I'll go on the dole, or whatever it is. Or I'll go back and live with mum and dad.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of people these days living with mum and dad, and I think that's to do with the high cost of living, and especially in the UK, people not being able to afford housing. So that is quite a big problem at the moment.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs sacrifice. I do. I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where he said that, he was, when he was trying to hustle, he was living with his parents and they were sleeping on the floor, and I've heard that over and over again, about different people that had made those sacrifices and said, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to go back to doing a job, 9 to 5, whatever hours it would be at a regular job. I got this dream. This is what I'm going to do. And they sacrifice everything to do it.
And that's fine to do that. If that's their dream, then they should go for it full out. Because by doing that, when it comes to them falling off the conveyor belt of life at the end, at least they won't have any regrets.
That's true. That's true. Whew, so much on this show so far today. I was going to ask this question. I usually ask this question first, but we kind of went out of order. That's fine. Doesn't matter.
That's me. Sorry.
No, it's fine. What made you want to become an entrepreneur in the first place? What lit that fire for you?
What made me want to become an entrepreneur? Necessity.
I've heard that. I've heard that a couple times. Yeah.
It wasn't a case of because basically for me, I was in a foreign country. I live in Germany. I was in a foreign country with two small children, or one smallish and one baby-ish toddler, and I didn't like being on the dole. I've only ever been on the dole once in the UK for 6 months, and that's because I was quite literally between jobs. I was waiting for a second job to come through.
Can you tell us, because in here in America, I don't know what the dole is. I don't know what that is.
The dole is when you go to the state with your cap in hand and you ask for some money because you've got no work.
Oh, okay. We have that here. It's called welfare. Here. Okay. Well, I don't know what that is.
The dole is, yeah.
That's fine.
That's the trouble with Americanisms, isn't it? When I first met somebody who was American years and years ago, when I was about, 16, 17, I thought, oh, he's really weird because of the different things he was saying, and I just couldn't understand him at all. It was a totally different planet for me, so it's quite interesting. I've learned a lot of Americanisms and a lot of American words since then, because actually in our bricks and mortar business we used to have a lot to do with the Americans because we used to go to the NATO bases selling and stuff like that. Oh, wow. So that's where I learned them all.
We do have a lot of weird sayings, and we do have a lot of slang that people don't understand from other countries, but I feel like it's the same for us. We see people from other countries, we're like, what? What'd you say? I have no
idea.
Something
different, that's all.
You call your soccer football, and we have football, but that's different.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you've got, is it spigot and trunk and all sorts of words. Spigot, is it? Sometimes you said spigot.
Yep. Yeah.
And trunk, and I don't know. Yeah, lots of words. But
trunk. Did you say like the trunk of a car?
Yes, that's the boot. That's the boot for us.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No idea.
We might speak English, but we don't. If you see what I mean.
It's a whole different dialect.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. It's a different language. It's like if you're in England. And you go to different counties. Firstly, in each different county, they have different accents. But not only that, in some counties, they've also got different words for things. Like if you go down to the south of England, southwest of England, if you go to Devon, they call tourists, what was it now? I forgot it. Grockles and emmets. And I mean, you wouldn't hear. They're really strange words. Grockles and emmets. What's that? And if you go anywhere else in the country, you won't hear those words, just in the southwest of England. It's just so bizarre, really.
We have that here too. We have things in the south where some people call like Coca-Cola. I'm going to say that because we have so many names for that. Like we're in the Midwest and we call it pop. But down south, they call it soda. Everything is soda, no matter what. It could be Sprite, it could be Coke, it could be Mountain Dew, whatever it is, and it's all soda. And up here, it's pop.
And we just call them fizzy drinks.
You call them fizzy drinks? That's probably more accurate. Oh, well, this has been a good show. I want you to tell me a little bit more about what you do, how everybody can find you, and just feel free to talk about what you do and how people can get a hold of you.
Okay, well, people can get hold of me on Facebook. My profile's there under Charmaine Barber, Transformational Coach. And if there are people who are interested in joining my Living Life Freely group, when they drop down to the left of the profile, there is actually a link there where they can click on it and ask to be admitted into the group. I help people overcome procrastination, I help them overcome self-doubt. I help them to become more confident. I basically help them when they're stuck in life generally, because usually when they're stuck, it tends to be something from their childhood that's holding them back. It doesn't actually have to be a big, huge emotional trauma. It can be, because trauma can be small things as well, depending on the person and how sensitive they are. Because some kids are very sensitive, and they grow up to be sensitive people as well. And anything that's said by their parents that they've perhaps not necessarily taken the wrong way, but they've taken personally, can be carried by them throughout their lives and hold them back from becoming the best person that they can ever be. And so I can help them get over things like that. I can help people get over writer's block, believe it or not. I've helped a lady do that. Writer's block.
Oh, writer's block. Okay.
I've helped a lady get over writer's block. And the reason she had writer's block was, again, it went back to her childhood. And I can talk freely about this because she's done written testimonial for me. She's done two video testimonials for me, which people can find on my business page as well. She had a critical father constantly criticizing her in her childhood, and that was probably her main problem with her writer's block. Not only that, though, she also had a sister who, her whole life long, which was only sadly 14 years, she had, and I've forgotten what she had now. Goodness, sorry, it's gone. I've lost it. She had an illness which took her life at 14 years old. So wow. for this lady with the writer's block, that affected her greatly as well. And I did a lot of healing work with her and her father and her sister as well. In fact, we had great fun because I use a lot of NLP techniques.
What is that?
NLP is fun, neuro-linguistic programming, which is basically changing the way we look at things.
Our paradigm.
We can, yeah. We get rid of beliefs that we've carried for a long time. We look at them from a different perspective, and we basically change them. It's a little bit of reprogramming. But it works, and it's fun to do. It's cool stuff. I really, really enjoyed doing it. I loved working with this lady. We had such fun. We'd be on Zoom calls like this, and I'd come on and say, okay, Barbara, I've got an experiment this week, because I'd be trying out something that I hadn't done before, but I knew would probably more than likely work with her. And I say, right, Barbara, we're going to do this today. She says, okay, I'm up for experiments. I know what you're like, Charmaine. Let's do it. Let's go for it. And we'd do this, and it would be, 10 minutes, half an hour usually at the most, between quarter and half an hour. And the shifts were absolutely amazing. And she'd come back the following week and she'd say, well, this has happened to me, and this has happened to me, and this has happened to me. And I'd be frantically scribbling down all these things that had happened to her, and I'd be going, yes, all these wonderful changes. And if it hadn't been the next week, in the week, the week after that it happened, it would happen virtually instantaneously.
Oh, that's amazing. It's good to hear, and it's exciting to hear when you're helping someone else and they have breakthroughs. That's one of the best feelings ever.
Absolutely, definitely.
It is.
I've also I've worked with a lady who's a marketing strategist. She shifted from one career with a large company, an international company. I've worked with her to help her get over that change, for her to become self-employed. She was struggling with that. Her father was critical as well, and so there seemed to be a lot of parallels actually in people's eyes, quite interestingly, with a critical parent. So anyway, I've worked with her, and she's come on in leaps and bounds. I don't work with her anymore. She's come on in absolute leaps and bounds with her career, and she's been given awards left, right, and centre for the work that she's doing now. It's absolutely fantastic to see her progress.
That's incredible.
It's wonderful.
Going from feeling like you're not good enough, and being told all the time that you're not good enough, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, and then to turn it around, that must be an outstanding feeling for not only them but for you.
Absolutely, definitely. The other thing was that she lost her mum when I think she was about 14, 15, and she was shipped out she couldn't live with her dad. She was actually put with relatives, so that for her was very difficult. So she was experiencing this thing of quite literally when she lost her family, this experience repeated itself with her losing her family in this international company. And so we had to break that cycle as well. So I did work with her on that, and we broke the cycle of it, and she's just become much more peaceful with herself, more understanding about the stuff that she's been going through and what she's been, why she's been doing it as well.
That's really good. I mean, it's like I said, it's amazing when you can help someone else and you see the progress and you see them succeeding and winning. That is one of the best things ever. I think this has been an outstanding show. I really appreciate you being with us this week. Is there anything left that you want to leave everybody with this week?
I
don't want to say this week.
No, I do want to say I would like to say something about somebody else that I worked with as well.
Go right ahead.
Absolutely amazing, I think. I've worked with a lady who came from a background where the family is Jewish, and she lost 74 relatives to the Holocaust.
Wow.
And she was really struggling with one thing, which we found out was attachment to her grandmother. She was identifying with her, and she had taken on all the sorrows of the war and of being a victim in the war. It's absolutely fascinating, the work that I did with her, I must say, actually. And I wasn't just using my work. There's a guy called Mark Wallin he's written a book about there's something about epigenetics in it, and about how traumas are passed down the generations. So she had taken on these traumas from her grandmother and from the family, and she wasn't able to feel happy. She had this immense sadness which she was carrying around with her, and she wasn't able to disconnect herself from it. So the work that we did, which I also use, as I say, Mark Wallin's work, allowed her to disconnect from her grandmother and to become her own person. She is an entrepreneur. She's got her own business. She's in Panama. She's got her own business, and the work that we did allowed her to finally separate from the Holocaust and separate from her relatives and move on with her life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing to come from identifying with someone and not having them there, and then to go to that's really something. That's an amazing work right there.
I've got one more for you.
All right. I'm ready.
They're just all springing to mind now.
That's okay.
I did some work with a lady who was given away as a baby at 6 months old.
Ooh.
and she ended up in a family being terribly abused, violently, physically, etc. And she felt very disconnected from herself and from her mother, because she'd been given away at 6 months, of course, so she would feel that way.
Right.
I didn't work with her for very long, because she actually, I think she went on to see a counsellor or something after, but she didn't do that for very long, I believe. And she's actually coming on in leaps and bounds doing what she's doing. But basically what I did, the work with her, was I reconnected her to her mother, even though she didn't know her mother. And this was exactly what she needed. And by me reconnecting her, or helping her to reconnect herself with her mother, allowed her to reconnect with herself as well.
That's deep. That is really deep. So when she reconnected with her mother, a lot of that that stuff from being abandoned, basically that feeling of abandonment, did that start to heal right then?
Yeah.
Wow.
We did some different exercises, and I asked her in the time that she wasn't with me, you know, in the following weeks before we met, to do work on her own. And see, this is part of the healing process for everybody that I work with, that I set them homework. It sounds a little bit crazy because we're not in school anymore, we're adults, but I need to set people homework, and they need to follow it through, because there's a reason for me giving them that homework, because I know that homework is going to have a healing effect for them. And as long as they follow it through, they will reap those benefits. If they don't do that homework, then they won't reap the benefits. And every single person whom I've worked with so far in the last year has done the tasks that I've asked them to do, and they have benefited so much from everything that they've done.
That's amazing work. It's work that is necessary, not only for entrepreneurs, but everybody. And I think you have the heart for it. I think that you are perfect for where you're at in that business. I'm not necessarily certain about the brick and mortar business.
Oh my!
And I just don't. I think your heart is you're just aligned perfectly with what you're supposed to do. I really believe that. I really think you have a big heart for people, and also because you've been through so much, you don't want to see them go through the same things.
Exactly. No, I don't. Life is too short. We only have one life.
Yeah.
And we don't have a very long life. As in, what I mean by that is there's so much that we can experience, that we can go out there, that we can do. Let's not waste it on trivialities.
Absolutely.
Let's go out there and really live life to the full, and live life freely.
Yes. This has been a great show. And to quantify everything, I think I would say that if you're out there and you have issues from your childhood, traumatic things from your past, and you think that Charmaine can help, I would get a hold of her and start that coaching, because I think that she can really help. And I mean, seriously, really help. So, all right, I want to thank you today for being here, Charmaine, and it was a very insightful podcast today, and I think that a lot of people will be in touch with their own feelings and their own emotional state because of it. I think people are going to actually look down deep inside because of this. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jim, for having invited me to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor talking to you, and it's been fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, that's the show for today, and we will catch you next time.